Welcome to ComSpark. Today we are in Cincinnati. My name is Michael Sutter, and I will be your guest host today. I would like to welcome our guest, Annette Ready, the Associate Vice President, Innovations and Partnership at UC. Okay, Annette, we were talking a little earlier, and you had told me UC is over 200 years young. I wanted to understand more about how you're embracing mobility to drive business.
Well, we recently adapted our mobile app to add some additional functionality. Most recently, because of the bicentennial, there was an additional section put on for a Pokemon Go type game where you go around the campus looking for the Bearcat in different locations. And when you get close, it just like Pokemon Go, it appears, you get points, and you can continue to rack up points as you walk around the campus on this tour of the showing different locations and different vignettes for the 200 years that UC has been in business.
So the students love that, huh?
Oh, the students absolutely love it. And the alumni, surprisingly, also enjoy it.
Oh.
But also as part of the UC Bicentennial, they have also commissioned the UC IT group to build a virtual reality experience. And in this virtual reality experience, there's actually 5 different vignettes that they take the user through as you put on the VR. The first is research, and you go through the Dr. Sabin's research lab from 1959 when he invented the polio vaccine. Then you are transported to a classroom where it shows what a classroom was like in 1819 versus 1919 versus 2019. So it shows how technology has greatly influenced how the student experience in higher education is felt on a daily basis. Then again, we bring in the Boldly Bearcat. You are brought to the Bearcat, who has been our mascot since 1914, when he originated, and is truly a part of every UC alumni's memory of UC. And then they also bring in Marion Spencer. She was a lifelong champion of the rights for African American women, and we recently built a new dorm that was also named after Marion Spencer. And then last but not least, the virtual reality will take you on a short tour of campus, showing some of the architecture which UC is known for in higher ed, because we have such a beautiful campus with such unique architecture in the various buildings, including McMicken Hall.
I'm a alumni at UC, so it's been a while since I've been there, but I can't tell you how long. So how did you come up with all the different vignettes and the Pokemon Go, and where did all these ideas spring out from?
Actually, the University of Cincinnati's foundation, which is our fundraising group and also for our alumni, came together and brought some ideas with some alumni that were in chairs of this committee. It started about 18 months ago, knowing the bicentennial was coming. And one of the actual alumni thought of the scavenger hunt / Pokemon Go. Mm-hmm. So that was greatly her idea that grew. And then as far as the virtual reality, it was one of our faculty members that had the idea, and it took quite a few meetings to get them to narrow down what exactly the 5 vignettes for the virtual reality would be. And then once they decided on those 5 vignettes, it took further refinement to get them down so that the experience is about a 5 to 6 minute time frame that you're doing the virtual reality and wearing the goggles.
How does somebody find out about that now?
They can go to our website. If you go to UC and just even Google on bicentennial, there's a bicentennial pages that will tell you. We have actually built 3 standalone virtual reality booths on campus. One is in Tangeman University Center. So that's central to the center of campus. There's also one in University Pavilion, which is where it's right near the enrollment and one stop. So a lot of students get their financial aid there, they can enroll in classes, etc. And then the third one is actually in the lobby of the Medical Services building that's over on the medical side of campus. And then there is one that is actually mobile that will be traveling between Blue Ash and Claremont County over the next 6 to 9 months while we celebrate our bicentennial.
That's awesome. Are a lot of those other college campuses doing that same thing you guys are doing?
No, I think that we are actually kind of on the cutting edge with this virtual reality. Since we launched it last month in February, there was a ribbon cutting ceremony of sorts in the Medical Arts Building, and the person that works for me, Chris Collins, who is responsible for the UC Simulation Center that created this virtual reality experience. Chris has been receiving lots of calls from many different, actually outside of higher ed, so industries, asking her to come visit and look at what virtual reality in their business could look like and what the experience could be. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if this is public knowledge or not, but there's talks with Cincinnati Bell to possibly do some work for Blink coming this fall for Cincinnati itself.
Okay, wow, that's pretty neat.
Yes.
So what do you see now in the future for UC?
We've had a lot of conversations around that and what's the next emerging technology. I think the virtual reality is really just at the tipping point where it can really take off soon. But wanting to always try to stay ahead, we're looking at AI and some of the other technologies to see how we can leverage it and best fit it in our portfolio of products to also benefit the students and the people at UC first and foremost.
So how do you go about looking at different trends in the future?
I think there's two sides to it in higher education. Unlike industry, you always have to look at how you can best leverage it to support the students and the learning experience, because at the end of the day, it's the student outcomes that really matter. So that's one perspective. But also, I think knowing what the trends are in technology as a whole, and then technologies of how higher education is changing. Because higher education has morphed in the 13 years that I've been in it, and has really catapulted the use of technology more so than the prior 10 years. While I think higher education still remains behind industry in many ways. So that the virtual reality, while it is maybe seen some in corporate world, in higher education, it really is not. So balancing those two of what benefits the student and the faculty and researchers. We are a research university, so we have to constantly keep in mind the compute need for our researchers, as well as what other potential technology can support them in their research needs. So it's balancing that portfolio of what's in the industry technology, but then also what will higher ed support, knowing higher ed tends to be a little behind the current day of where industry is.
How many on your team?
Total, I have around 45 people, but I have 4 different distinct areas. I have a software development group. I have a research and development group that works closely with researchers. I have UC Sim, who did the virtual reality, and then I also manage the project office, who manages all these various projects, and actually many for the entire campus.
Annette, thank you for being on the program today.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. It was a pleasure and a privilege to be here and speak with you, Michael.
I would like to thank Annette for joining us today, and for those listening to the interview, to learn more, go to ComSpark.tech.